G'day viewers, my name's Graham Stevenson and I'd like to invite you to come on a journey of creativity and learning and adventure through the series Colour in Your Life. There's an artist in every family throughout the world, and lots of times there's an artist deep down inside all of us as well. So grab your kids, your brothers, your sisters, your aunties, uncles and mums and dads and come and see how some of the best artists in Australia do what they do. Colour in Your Life. We're out in south central Queensland today in a little town called Mundubbera, which is way out in the sticks, and I'm with a lovely lady, Sue Lederhose. Sue,
Hi.
Welcome to the show. How are you? We're going to be obviously talking about Sue's work today. She's a landscape artist that's very much involved in obviously her community and the country out here, and really does a lot of really amazing work as far as the landscape's concerned. And Sue is a watercolour artist, but you really had a great interest in your work from a very early age, didn't you?
Yes, I've always loved anything to do with art, you know, whether it's digging clay and building sculpture or twisting wire, and eventually it's led me to watercolour.
Sue is actually a teacher. She's one of the great teachers within this area. So as we go through, if you're out in the middle of southeast central Queensland, this is a lady you need to come and see anyway.
Okay, for the purpose of today's demonstration, I'm going to be copying a little painting I've done of a creek crossing, a local scene, Narayan Creek Crossing. It's an agricultural property that's local. I'm going to be using a little bit of masking fluid on this. I don't normally use masking fluid, but it's got a little bit of barbed wire going across the creek.
Sure.
And the best way to reserve those whites is with masking fluid.
Okay.
And to get it really fine, I like using the old-fashioned post office pen and nib. A little bit of masking fluid. I use the Art Spectrum one because it's thinner and it works really well with the post office pen and nib.
Okay.
And you can make really lovely fine marks.
Can't you? That's great, isn't it?
With the post office pen and nib, and also put those little bit of wire, the barb on the wire. I've done those, and it's dry, so I'm all ready to put the first wash on.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to start with some cerulean.
Yeah.
Just mix up a nice puddle of that. I'm going to keep it fairly light.
Yeah.
I'm not too worried about what I do with that tree at this point in time because I'm going to be doing some lifting out later on.
Oh, okay.
And because the tone's so light anyway, it's not going to show up much.
I can see you work quite quickly as well.
Yeah, I do. Over the years, I've found I fiddle less if I work faster.
Sure.
And it works out. If you want to, you can even just take a tissue and just wipe a bit of that while it's still wet.
Just pull it straight off.
Which works just brilliantly.
Yeah.
Wash out that brush and I'll get some yellow. This yellow is an Australian red gold.
That Australian red gold.
Yeah, Art Spectrum. And I'll take that across.
Yeah.
Just to get a nice glow in it.
Okay.
And then I'll introduce some greens. Probably just something like this sap green. I might even blue it off a little bit.
Okay. I like the way you got your palette too.
Yeah, I like to have lots of colours setting out in the palette. They need to be readily available for me. I also find if I work faster, I leave sparkle of paper. That's important.
Yeah, particularly in watercolour, yeah.
I'll come in, wash out my brush better, I'll come in with some of this light red. I really need to get all this down while it's all wet because I want the colours to work well together and to just bleed together. I'm working around these rocks a little bit. I have gone over them in places, but I'm going to lift it out later anyway.
Okay.
So I'll just come in here and take that down there.
Beautiful. You're definitely not afraid of that brush. I can see that.
and this is going to be a lot of grass and other things, but at this point in time I'm just going to be throwing colours on.
Okay. You're just really trying to get an effect.
I'm getting your underwash,
Yep.
which is establishing tone and colour.
Okay.
I'll use a darker blue towards the bottom, so I'll go into your cobalt.
Just really letting the angle of that board do a lot of the work for you.
I
too.
like this angle.
Yeah.
It's because I use a lot of wet in wet techniques. It still encourages the water to move down, but it's not so fast if it was up at a higher angle. But I think that's probably the first wash done where we've just established tone and colour.
That looks great, doesn't it?
And that won't take long to dry because I'm using a very lightweight paper, the 185 GSM, and the weather's really hot too.
What actual type of paper is it?
Arshes.
Arshes,
I enjoy using Arshes because it takes a lot of punishment. You know, I can rub it and scrub it and lift out and sgraffito, and it works well for me. Okay, the paper isn't completely dry yet, but I can do a lot of things while it's still damp, or just damp. You can still see it's still buckling at the bottom,
Yep.
and it'll dry completely flat because I've stretched this paper and stapled it, and the tape around the outside is just so it makes a nice white border.
Sure.
So I'll go straight into my cerulean, and
Test it again.
yep, but I might actually dull it down a little bit with some raw sienna.
Yep.
So I'm using Alvaro's 00 brush this time.
Just a
Lovely
Castane's
brush. I've
brush.
already worn out one.
And you're just really using the edge or the side of the brush
Yep.
to create it for you.
Yep.
Yeah, so look into these trees.
Very,
out there.
very loose.
Yeah, look at that.
Drag down some trees, same colour. See if I like it, if I need to adjust it. Stepping back and having a look at your work is really important. If you work too close, you keep working yourself into a hole.
Sure.
So I'm going to establish some foliage is here. Again, I'll just very loosely mark it in where I want it to go. I'm just using some raw sienna here.
Yeah.
I'll just scrumble it in, and I can work over the top of that with some blue. And also these brushes are fantastic because you can actually then use the tip of it to create beautiful gum type marks. And I can always come back and do a little bit more of this later on if I feel it needs touching up. An important thing to do before you get too far into a painting is actually to work out where your light source is.
Yes.
And because it might seem a simple thing, but you really do need to have all your shadows going in the same direction.
Yeah.
So if I put a big arrow up there,
Yep.
I'll know what side the light's going to be on my tree trunk,
Yeah.
and what side the light's going to be on my rocks and all that sort of stuff. So I'm not going to see a lot of these branches,
Yeah.
but these are the main ones. And I can just wash that out and run water up the other side, and it'll just naturally bleed across.
You're just letting the paper do the work for you.
Just let the paper do the work.
Yeah.
And I can go into a rigger
Okay.
and do some more work with it for some finer branches.
I notice you're just sort of just taking out that extra moisture sometimes to get what you need.
Don't want it to drip on the paper.
Yeah.
So if you just take out the extra bit, then it's not going to make big drippy runs and everything.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll go on to the main eucalypt tree now. It's just the butt of the tree, and the butt of the tree is going to be reflected in the water. And actually that's often the most interesting part of it. It's where you have all that, the darkness and the bark and the bits hanging off and the colours.
And just sort of, you let that bliss bleed out there.
Yep.
Beautiful.
And I've got some reds with my light red,
Yeah.
and I can put it in at different angles.
That's all that stringy bark that falls off it.
Yep, it is. You can actually go into a good cad red. It looks so strong, but it actually blends in beautifully.
Yeah.
And if you're going to use that, I'll go into a stronger blue. I'll go into, you know, I can even go into an indigo or my ultramarine. I'm happy with the way that's looking at the moment, and I'll just move on to this rock area. Basically all this area through here is finished apart from some little grass work and stuff like that. So if I go down to the rocks, I'm going to just put water all over that rock area. I've got a few marks and that on those rocks from previous paintings, but it doesn't matter. Some people get so caught up over having a little splotch here and there.
Yeah.
And really, you're better off not to stop and wait till the end and see if it bothers you. more times than not it won't bother you, or it's covered up by other things.
Yeah, and it's the looseness that you actually enjoy in the end as well.
Yes, and your little mistakes or splots that you didn't mean to make actually create interest in your painting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Most artists will tell you it's important to have a limited palette. In other words, don't use every colour that you've got available just because it's there.
Sure.
So the colours that I've used up here and here, I'm reusing on the rocks.
Right.
So I'm diving back into those same colours. We scrub out where the light side is and soften any edges. So again, I'm thinking about where my sun is, where my shadows are.
Once again, just taking that paint off.
Yeah, just a little bit. I was once told tone is king, and it's true, because to create a 3D effect you just need to have the lights and the darks in the right place. So my profession as a teacher, and I've had nearly 35 years experience everywhere from early childhood right through to year 12, and it's really important to be able to break down what you teach in class in small increments and not try to cover too much at a time.
Yep.
And then the next class scaffold or add on to that knowledge, and that's the way people learn.
Absolutely, yeah. The fact that you guys are isolated and in the country, this is a great way for people with the tremendous amount of drought and flood that this region's had. This is a great way for people to really get away from the stress and the strain of what goes on in their daily lives as well.
Yep. Relax.
Yeah.
Think about something else.
Yep.
There's so many people involved in the country who have got such enormous creative ability, but their work overwhelms them, and they get to that stage where they think, I can have a little bit of time for me. And they come out to an art class and they have a wonderful day and they go back refreshed.
Absolutely, I think it's just fabulous.
I would love to meet with other watercolourists every week and get together and paint, but I don't. I work in isolation. And that's one of the reasons why I try really hard to get to at least one workshop a year. It's fantastic to be able to meet other people and to paint, and it's so inspiring because we are isolated.
Absolutely, yeah, it's a long way out. So.
I send paintings to exhibitions all the time, but I very rarely, if ever, see them up, and I'm never there to accept prizes.
Yeah.
Everything just comes in the mail and I post paintings.
And that's one of the great parts about Colour in Your Life, is the fact that we can get out to these regions now because of arts councils like Arts Queensland and the RADF grants. But the whole idea of this is that those people that are in those really isolated areas can get to show the rest of Australia and in the end the world where they are and what they do, which is so important. And also, you were just recently in Artist Palette, the magazine, with a feature article, which is pretty cool, wasn't it?
That was a thrill.
Absolutely.
Especially that I got on the front cover.
Yeah, I think that's just great, very good. Just sort of tells you who she is, guys, okay?
Okay, I'll just get a little bit of paint on my rigger and make a few rock marks, like there's going to be a crack around there and probably down there too.
Yeah.
And maybe something that comes up here. It's just really incidental, but these have fracture marks in them.
Because of the heat, expansion, contraction.
Bits of rock will shale off.
And it's okay to use your finger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
any part of your hand. Elbow if you like.
Yeah. Aggressive watercolour.
Actually, what I discovered recently, I've got a really old, horrible brush here,
Yeah.
and it makes great grass marks.
There you go, look at that.
Couldn't get much more random than that, could you?
No way.
Okay, so if we go down here, I'll put a few of these around here. You could do similar sort of marks with your rigger,
Yeah.
and for diversity, you could use both. You could use this as a background.
And then ride the rigger over the top.
Yep. Don't just use one colour. Go back into all your colours, and if you do that, that'll help to create your tones.
Yeah. But it's that randomness that's really making it look like it's a rugged, grass-filled rock
Yeah.
area.
That'll probably be enough.
So Sue, tell me, why do you paint and who's influenced you? I mean, there's obviously two big reasons you do this.
I paint because I've got it inside me. I've always been creative, and it got to the stage in my life when working with kids in school and art just wasn't enough, and I decided to be selfish and take time for me. So where I am, there was no one to teach me, so I went to the local library, picked up books, and as a teacher I could work in isolation, and I could read books and I could study, and I could work through that book from cover to cover, and I learned. And actually I still learn like that. I still read books and study the techniques of other artists, and I'm still learning. And I think everybody does. We're learning from the time we're born. All the major watercolourists that are around at the moment, I love their work. The impressionistic work, I particularly love David Taylor's work, but Alvaro's and Herman's and John Lovett's work. He does a lot of work in landscapes. I love all their work.
Okay.
I'm a country person. I've grown up in the country. I've lived my whole life in the country, apart from the years I had to spend at college and uni. And so I do have an enduring love of landscapes. I paint all subjects. I hate to think that anything defeats me. So I will work at something until I get it right. But no matter what medium I use, I keep coming back to watercolours, and I keep coming back to landscapes. There's another little technique that you can use with rocks, and it's just a little bit of splattering you use with a toothbrush. In fact, watercolour is fantastic because you can use almost anything. In my box of tricks, you know, sponges, sticks, straws, credit cards, sandpaper. The knife I'll use a little bit, and they're all good for something.
Yeah, it's a plethora of equipment.
So we'll just do a little bit of splattering, and again I'll just use my little bit of paper, and will just protect the rest of my
Sure, it's a little bit like a template, isn't it?
painting from the splattering, because it's a little bit uncontrollable.
Yeah. But it just gives a texture of granite and rock, and
Just gives an added texture. Don't have to overdo it.
there you go.
Rocks with speckles. Right, we'll drop in some shadows.
We're going for it.
We are. First of all, we have the
Oh, I like that. Nice try.
we have the bank. We have some grasses.
This is sort of like the ripples in the water.
Yeah.
On stick.
And we have the tree. And over here we've got the reflection of this tree coming down.
Yep.
So we'll get some more colour, just some muddy stuff, and I might even just give it a
Bit of a spritz.
Yep. To just loosely wet that, because I don't want it all to be really hard.
Yep.
So we have branches coming here, and a little bit of tree foliage. With my Stanley knife, I'm just going to
Right on the edges there.
pull out some paper
Yeah.
for a little bit of whites.
How about that?
It actually cuts into the paper,
Yeah.
but it brings back some of that sparkle.
Isn't that great? That's a great idea.
If you wanted to, you could even do some more. It's great to make stars in a night sky. So I'll take off the masking fluid and see what it looks like underneath.
Okay. And what are you actually using there then?
Some sort of rubber that I got for taking off masking fluid.
Okay.
Must have a special name. Do you know its special name?
It's the rubber off for a takerer.
Yes. Like I said, I
You
order.
can get them in most hard stores, and that's just what they're for. I'm not sure they've got a specific name, but
I order all my
yeah.
supplies over the.
But you can see the barbed wire coming out now, which is
Over
pretty
the net.
great. Yeah.
And I've got lots of spots here in the water,
Yep.
but I'm going to have to go back and quickly put a wash over that to blend them into that background.
Yeah.
And also a little bit on that barbed wire as it goes into the distance.
Okay.
So I'll work on the barbed wire for a start, just with a little bit of this blue, and just grade or blue it off a little bit so it blends into that distance more.
Yeah.
Just take, tissues are very handy. There. Water in a creek is very rarely ever clean.
Sure.
It's often green or muddy looking, but a little bit of it will reflect the sky.
Sure.
So at this stage, I'll consider that finished.
It's amazing.
But it's always a really good idea to stand a painting up in a corner and look at it over a period of days, you'll often find little tiny little bits that you want to tweak or change.
That's fantastic. We'll just take that. And obviously you stapled yours down as well, so...
Because I'm using lightweight paper,
Yeah.
I always stretch my paper.
Yeah.
And that way I'm always positive it's going to return to a really lovely flat
Yep.
surface. There's nothing worse than seeing buckled paper sitting in a frame.
But I mean, the beauty about it always is you've got this border that's been created and your picture just drops back straight away.
It looks good even without a frame if you've got a bit of a white border around it. Just makes it neater.
Okay, well, how about that, guys? That looks just fantastic. And how long did that? We haven't been here for very long today, but you can see what can be done with a very proficient watercolour artist and a magnificent landscape as well. Really well done.
You should be able to paint that in less than an hour, even an amateur.
That's just great. I mean, the thing about it is that people can come and see you out here at Mundubbera.
Yes. I only started my art career later in life, 11 years ago now. I love to encourage other people to begin. It doesn't matter how old they are, whether they're 5 or 50 or 80. If you've got it in you and you really want to express yourself and you want to learn a new skill, you need to put some time and effort into going to an art class and being taught techniques. It's amazing what you can learn in a short period of time, and it'll just thrill your soul.
Absolutely. And in saying that, your website is, because if people obviously want to get in touch with you, your website details are?
Is lederhoseart.com. So that's LEDERHOSEART.
And you can get in touch with Sue, obviously that, and it's a great area. Admittedly, it's very dry, but there's just so much expansive, fabulous country out here, isn't there? And it would be a wonderful experience for anybody in the country or the city to come out and see Sue and the other great artists out in central Queensland. I'd also like to thank Arts Queensland for getting us out here. If it wasn't for Arts Queensland, the girls and our trip just simply wouldn't have been possible. So thank you so much for their support. And also Don Moore and Jeanette Holleran from North Burnett Council. Once again, the guys have worked really tirelessly to put all this together, and we hope to come back at some stage because I love the country for a start. I'm a country boy myself. So, and if you want to see some more of the stuff that we do, of course, you can go to colorinyourlife.com.au or into our Facebook page at Colour in Your Life as well. But we're going to head off because we've got to go and see some more people out here in this fabulous part of Australia. But as we always say, remember guys, make sure you put some colour in your life, and we'll see you next time. Bye now. See ya.
Mm-hmm.